Today we're learning all about Disney World's moderate resorts. This is Go Inform Podcast, episode 61. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me once again on our tour of the Disney World hotels. Today we are going to be talking about the moderate category of hotels at Disney World. And so there's a lot to tell you about, and I hope that you're having fun going on these virtual tours of all the resorts with me. My name's Maven. I'm the hostess of the show here. And also I am the founder and the blogger and all that stuff over at goinform.net. And my whole thing is to help you guys have a better vacation. So today we are continuing our series about the Disney World hotels. So this is part of a multi-podcast episode series. And today's the third in the series. So if you haven't already listened to the last couple episodes, you might want to go back and catch up with those first because it'll give you a little bit more context about what we're talking about today. Today's topic is the moderate category resorts at Disney World. There are a good half a dozen or so resorts in this category. So we're going to take a deeper dive and look at what makes each one unique and special and, kind of help you start to figure out what might be the best place for you to stay. You don't need to write down a whole bunch of notes from this episode. I've already done that for you over in the show notes, which happens to be a big guide to the Disney World hotels. And you can find that right now at goinform.net/61. As we've talked about before in the other episodes here, Disney World is really big and it has a lot of different options for staying on site in the Disney bubble. And Disney, because there's so many hotels, they've actually split them up into some categories to kind of help people narrow down what will work best for them, and also just to kind of give you a sense of if you like this one, you might also like this other one. So the moderate resorts, as you might guess, is sort of their middle of the road category. When you look at their categories, the basic breakdown is about price. So these are the moderately priced Disney World resorts. Moderately priced at Disney World means that you're looking in the price range of like a Sheraton or a Westin in a comparable area. So these are definitely still going to be kind of higher end accommodations, but they're not quite in the range of like the deluxe resorts at Disney, which are going to be more your sort of Four Seasons price range. Okay. Even though the price range of these resorts compares to like a Westin or a Sheraton, what you're going to find when you really start looking at it is these do not look like a Sheraton or a Westin, at least a typical one. These resorts have a ton of amenities on site, activities on site. Most of them are on really, really big properties. So lots of open space, almost park-like surroundings. So definitely more like a destination resort kind of feel. And that's true no matter what category you're looking at Disney World. You're going to get that same kind of immersive feel, even if you get down into the value resorts, which will be next week's topic. These resorts also look different from your typical Sheraton hotel because they are spread out. So the rooms in the moderate resorts are going to be, for the most part, they're going to be in kind of lower rise buildings that are spread out on the property. Usually 2 or 3 story high buildings with, maybe 20 rooms per building. When you look at pictures of these resorts and you look at the buildings, you're going to notice that they have, for the most part, they're going to have exterior doors. It's not like a classic hotel where there's a big lobby and you ride the elevator up and, there's a long hall and that's how you get to your room. These are usually exterior corridors and exterior doors to your room. Now, this may make you think of a roadside motel. And I mean, it is kind of that style, but the feel is totally different from that. And for me, I think the main reason is that the corridors might be outside, but it's not like there's a road, like a busy highway right there. Most all of them, what you're looking out onto from your room is at the very least some beautiful trees and landscaping. But you can also be looking out onto a lake or a river or a pool, some really beautiful areas and beautiful landscaping. So don't let the appearance of those buildings necessarily make you think that it is something less than what it is. So there are a lot of different moderate resorts at Disney World, and we're going to start our tour at the Caribbean Beach Resort. The Caribbean Beach Resort is centrally located. It is actually on the hub of the Skyliner. The Skyliner is Disney's new aerial tram. Actually, it's like gondolas that run between some of the hotels and Epcot and Hollywood Studios. The Skyliner is not one continuous route. It actually has a hub where you need to transfer, and that spot is right next to the Caribbean Beach Resort. What that means is that if you stay at Caribbean Beach, you are in the middle of a really nice transportation mode that will get you either straight over to Epcot or straight to Hollywood Studios, which is super convenient. Obviously, all the parks are fantastic at Disney World, but there is a lot to see at both of these parks. And they are often people's first choice of where they want to spend time. So if Epcot or Hollywood Studios are kind of top of your list, that is one really big reason why I would recommend you look at Caribbean Beach Resort. So the theming over here at this resort obviously is Caribbean. The different sort of areas of the resort are named for Caribbean islands. So like there's one called Aruba, for example. I think one's called Trinidad. So different Caribbean locations are what the areas are named after in the resort. Colors are, the beautiful like pinks and turquoise and stuff like that. There is a lake that runs, it's kind of through the middle of the resort. And I actually saw some people fishing at the resort. The last time I was there, you can rent like a pontoon boat and go fishing if you want to. So these moderate resorts have things like that right on the property. A lot of times you can rent bikes. And, there's walking paths and there's fishing and there's all kinds of different activities you can do, even if you're not going to go to the park for the day. This resort, the main pool, it looks like it's a colonial Spanish fortress. It has 2 water slides. The resort is really big, which has pluses and minuses. But one of the pluses is there's actually 5 or 6 different swimming pools on the site. So if you kind of want your own little pool near your building, you can get that here. The downside of these big resorts that are really sprawling, though, is the transportation, the bus transportation. You're probably going to have multiple bus stops within your resort. And Caribbean Beach is one of these places. So that means that if you're taking the bus, and you will need to take the bus if you're going to Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom, you may not be the first or last bus stop on the route in your resort. So you do a little bit of driving around in the resort before you get out to the road, and same with coming back. If you're at one of the last bus stops on the route in the morning, the bus can be pretty full before it even gets to you. So keep this in mind as kind of a drawback to some of these moderate resorts. And it's the same with some of the value resorts. But on the plus side, at this one, you've got the Skyliner right there. And you can also request us to be in a certain part of the resort if you really want to dial it in. So you can be near the first stop for the bus if you want to be. In terms of dining at the moderate resorts, most of these are going to have some kind of a table service restaurant, and then some quick service and like pool bars and stuff like that. And that's the case at Caribbean Beach. Caribbean Beach has some pretty cool themed rooms that you can get if you want. They are pirate themed and they are really fun. I actually got to stay in one last time and it was so cute and it was kind of hilarious. It had beds in the shape of boats. It had a chest of drawers that looked like it was just big old wooden crates. And the mini bar, the little fridge, was inside of a barrel. So it's really very clever and fun, and usually not that much more expensive to get one of these themed rooms at the moderates and the values. So if you want to do something extra special, you can do something like a pirate room. Also, if you get the pirate rooms at the Caribbean Beach, you will be in the part of the resort that's the closest to the Skyliner station. So that is really convenient too. Okay, so next we're going to move over to the Port Orleans resorts. And pretty much all of the resorts that I'm going to talk about today are in the kind of central Disney World area. So most of them are going to say that they're the closest to Epcot, and Epcot is kind of the middle of Disney World. So even though you can't walk to a park, this sort of a location makes it quicker for you to get kind of everywhere than if you're way out near Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom. So the Port Orleans resorts are also kind of in this Epcot area. This is a little confusing because there's two resorts that are called Port Orleans. There's the Port Orleans Riverside and there's the Port Orleans French Quarter. These are actually really separate resorts. I mean, they are adjoining to each other. Occasionally they share a bus to the parks. And they are both on the river that goes down to Disney Springs. So they do share a little boat that goes down to Disney Springs. But their theming's different. The size of them is different. And so they're really, I think most people consider them as really separate things. So let's talk first about Riverside. Port Orleans Riverside is another one of these really sprawling moderate resorts. So kind of like Caribbean Beach, you've got a lot of different buildings really spread out on the property. The theming at Port Orleans Riverside is kind of like Old South. Some of it looks like classic old mansions, and some of it is kind of bayou cottage themed. This hotel has royal rooms as their kind of special themed rooms that you can get. So these have headboards that sparkle, and I would guess that even the taps in the bathtub look like Aladdin's lamp. So if you want like a princess room, the royal rooms will fit the bill, and you can get those here at Riverside. Riverside is going to be, again, buses to all the parks. Skyliner's not going here. So you will take the bus to all of the theme parks from Riverside. And this is another resort that has multiple bus stops. So just, again, keep that in mind. Port Orleans Riverside has a huge pool area. It's called Old Man Island, and it's themed like an abandoned sawmill. So that's pretty cool. And if you're staying over at French Quarter, I believe that you can actually go over and use the pool here. So that's kind of cool. Dining, again, it's the same kind of thing where you've got one table service restaurant and then you've got some quick service options. But you are just a quick boat ride to Disney Springs, which has some amazing dining options. So if you're staying here, you may want to, you might end up having dinner or maybe taking a break and having lunch at Disney Springs anyway, rather than at the hotel. Now let's talk for a second. Let's compare it to the Port Orleans French Quarter. French Quarter is a New Orleans style theming. So you're going to actually be able to get beignets in the food court here, which is super fun. The buildings have like a lot of wrought iron on them. And you'll see like gas lamps and brick roads running through it. It looks like you're in a little neighborhood in New Orleans, but you get all the Disney touches. So there's actually like street signs throughout, and the street names are like Rue de Bega and Cakewalk, that kind of thing. And the pool is very cute too. This one's a much smaller resort than Riverside. There's only one bus stop for Port Orleans, so you're not having to worry about where you are on the bus line. And usually this bus is not shared with Riverside. So most of the time you're getting your own dedicated bus to and from Port Orleans to all of the theme parks. And you still have the boat down to Disney Springs. You don't have a table service restaurant here. You would need to go next door over to Riverside. But there is a pretty good food court with lots of options and a couple of little bars. One of them's like a little jazz. They usually have New Orleans style jazz and that kind of thing. So definitely got this kind of small hotel almost feel, and just a little bit more charming, I personally think, than over at Riverside. Okay, next up is Coronado Springs. Coronado Springs might actually be the biggest in terms of rooms and in terms of like size of any of these moderate resorts. It's really big. It's got all kinds of different buildings on the property with for all the rooms, and it also has a high-rise tower on the property too. The high-rise tower is called the Grand Destino Tower. It's a new building that opened, I think, in 2019, and so Coronado Springs offers a lot of options in terms of what type of accommodation you're looking for. You can be kind of out in the quiet corner of the resort, or if you want to be right in kind of in the center of things, you can stay in the Grand Destino Tower. The tower has a wonderful rooftop restaurant and bar, and the views here, this hotel, Disney will say it's closest to the Animal Kingdom. It's really kind of between Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. And when you get out, you can get outside on the terrace of the bar up there on the rooftop, and you can look and see Animal Kingdom. You can see right down over Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios. You can see the fireworks from up there. It is a really cool location. Coronado Springs is kind of the convention center at Disney World. So this is where you're going to find big convention spaces. If you're going to Disney World for some kind of a convention and it's on site, it might actually be at Coronado Springs. This is one of the places that the NBA stayed when they took over Disney World for the 2020 kind of bubble season. The team stayed at Coronado Springs, and they actually practiced there too because they used all that convention space. They just turned it into basketball practice courts. There is a lot of stuff at Coronado Springs. They have multiple table service restaurants, quick service restaurants. They have a pool that's themed like Mayan ruins with the waterfall and a big water slide, plus a bunch of other pools throughout. In the Gran Destino Tower, you can actually get club level rooms. So you get the amenities of being club level, which is you get a lounge for the people that are on club level with lots of food and drinks and your own concierge that can help you book extras like tours and stuff like that. This is the only moderate hotel that has club level, and this is a really good value. I mean, it's basically brand new if you stay there in the tower, and you're getting all those amenities, but you're paying a moderate price instead of deluxe. This is also the only hotel that's got a fitness center that isn't a deluxe. So I don't know why you would need that, because you're probably going to walk like a marathon when you go to the parks. But if if fitness center is important to you and you don't want to go all the way up to a deluxe level hotel, then take a look at Coronado Springs. Transportation to the parks from this hotel will be only bus. You're not on the Skyliner line or a boat or any of that. So you do have just the bus to get out to the parks. All right, guys, there's a couple more things that I want to tell you about, a couple more locations. If you're having trouble keeping track of all this, just remember, you can go to the show notes at goinformed.net/61 and look at all the stuff that I'm telling you here, all the basics, and also get links to go right into the sites for the hotels and take a closer look. Okay, so next is a really cool thing that's very Disney and unique. This is the Fort Wilderness Resort, and specifically the cabins at Fort Wilderness Resort. So last time I talked about the Wilderness Lodge. That's one of Disney's deluxe resorts, and they also have villas there. And it's a spectacular piece of property. It's near the Magic Kingdom. It's just like a 15-minute boat ride over to the Magic Kingdom from Wilderness Lodge. And on the same property is Fort Wilderness. All of this is it's actually a 750-acre wooded property right there by the Magic Kingdom. The Fort Wilderness part of the resort is more rustic. It's kind of got the feeling of a campground and like being out in the woods. The cabins at Fort Wilderness Resort are priced like the moderate hotel rooms. So these are actual individual cabins that look like log cabins. And they have a bedroom and a little kitchen and a little living room, it's a small cabin, but it's got all those kind of amenities. They sleep, I think, 6 people. They even have a little porch and a charcoal grill. So if you want this kind of hideaway when you're at Disney World, the cabins are a super cool option. Fort Wilderness by itself is a fantastic resort. I mean, you could just go and never go to a theme park and have a great time. They have stuff like canoe rentals. You can do archery. You can take wagon rides. You can go see the stables where the horses are that pull the wagons in Magic Kingdom. You can go see where those stables are. You can go fishing. You can just hike around the property. There's campfires. I mean, it really is like going out into to a campground, but you get your own little cabin, with all the Disney amenities. So you've got housekeeping. You've got, it's nice and clean and new and all of that. So the Fort Wilderness cabins, in terms of getting around and where it is, it's there near the Magic Kingdom. So you're going to take a boat to get to Magic Kingdom and a bus to get to all of the other parks. One other cool thing is because Fort Wilderness is so spread out, you can actually rent bikes or a golf cart to get around. You have a little spot at your cabin where you can park your golf cart, and then you can take that to get around the property and also to like go over to the bus stop or to where you get the boat. So that's super fun too. Fort Wilderness has 2 swimming pools. One of them has a water slide. And dining, you've got some table service and quick service dining options. And you can cook your own food because you have a little kitchen. So a lot of flexibility if you stay at Fort Wilderness, and just a ton of stuff to do. And there is one other way you can stay on this property too, which that's going to fall into the value category. So we will talk about that next time. Okay, so that is all the Disney-run moderate resorts at Disney World. But I'm actually going to put a little bit of an asterisk on this one and give you 2 more options that are not run by Disney, but they are right in the middle of the Disney World property. And also Disney often extends a lot of the on-site guest benefits to guests at these hotels. So these are the Swan and the Dolphin. The Swan and Dolphin resorts are located right between Epcot and Hollywood Studios and kind of right next to the Yacht and Beach Club that I talked about last time. Swan and Dolphin are not operated by Disney. The Swan's operated by Westin, the Dolphin by Sheraton. So they're both part of the Marriott Bonvoy program. Neither of them has a ton of theming, although the buildings are kind of cool. They have these giant sculptures on the top that you really can't miss. One does look like a swan. The dolphin looks like a fish. I don't know why. But in terms of, the whole Disney bubble, you're not quite there when you stay here. You're more in a Westin or a Sheraton, but you are walking distance to Epcot and Hollywood Studios from these resorts. Oftentimes, guests that are staying at the Swan and Dolphin get extended some of these benefits that Disney guests get, which can include extra magic hours or early admission in the morning. Sometimes you get priority for making fast pass reservations. So it just kind of depends on what Disney's doing. Some of this stuff's up in the air right now, you guys, because of the COVID situation. Disney's just not doing a lot of those things, but oftentimes guests at Swan or at Dolphin will get these benefits. One of the things that makes it nice to stay at Swan and Dolphin is if you have points with the Marriott Bonvoy program, you can use them to get your room or get a discount. Disney doesn't have a program like that, so there's not really any way to get a free room when you stay at one of the official Disney resorts. But you can do that if you stay in the Swan or the Dolphin, just depending on availability. And you will earn points by staying there. So, if you're really big into the points program, then these are going to probably be your top options on the Disney property. Price-wise, these hotels are going to be competitive with the other moderates on site. One thing, though, to know about the Swan and the Dolphin, these hotels tack a extra $35 per day resort fee onto their price. And these resort fees usually are not quoted in the price. When you see a price for these hotels, you need to mentally or accounting wise, you need to add an extra $35 a night on for this resort fee. Disney doesn't charge a resort fee, so you're not going to have that. The price they give you, usually by the time you get into their system and you get a price that includes tax and everything, there's no hidden charges. But Swan and Dolphin do have that resort fee. So watch out for that. Just be aware of that. These 2 hotels are basically high-rise hotels. Some of the rooms actually do have fireworks view of, I think it's Epcot. There are multiple table service and quick service dining options between the 2 hotels. There's a steakhouse there. There is a character dining in one of the hotels. There are lots of swimming pools. to choose from between the two. So there's a lot that these hotels have to offer, but they aren't the Disney hotels, so you just don't get that extra Disney touch. And you may not get all of the same advantages as guests staying in the Disney hotels. But, keep it in mind. I want you to know about it because there's a lot to be said for these hotels, especially that location. I mean, if you can walk to Hollywood Studios, that's pretty nice. So keep these two in mind as well. I do have some links on the website on the show notes if you want to look closer at them and get pricing and stuff like that. Okay, so now just the quick COVID disclaimer about what all I just told you. Obviously, things can change at any time. And here in the beginning of 2021, some things are not available. And in terms of the moderate hotels, there are 2 of these resorts that are closed, and we don't know when they're going to reopen. And those are the Port Orleans Riverside and French Quarter. So I'm sorry if those were your top choice from what I just told you. And if you are traveling, probably at least in the first half of 2021, these are most likely not going to be available to you. Everything else is open as of this recording at the end of January 2021. But obviously, your best bet to get the real information in terms of what's available and pricing is to get onto Disney's website or talk to your travel agent. Hopefully, by the end of 2021, things will be getting back a little bit back to normal. And as things open up more at the parks, then there's going to be more demand for the hotels, and we'll start to see some of these locations open up. But most of the moderates are available to you, even if you want to go next week. Have fun choosing because you do have a lot of choices here. So next time we're going to talk about the value resorts. There are a handful of resorts that fit into that category. So we'll take a look closer at what that looks like and things that you can expect if you choose one of those hotels. And thanks again for joining me today. Don't forget, you can find me on social media at GoInformNet, pretty much everywhere, but I'm most active on Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook. And let me know what questions you have. You can comment in the show notes, which are at goinform.net/61, or, send me a message through Facebook or Instagram or make a comment on a post over there and let me know if you have questions or what else you want to learn about these hotels. Thanks again for listening, guys, and I will talk to you next time.